time off. Mountain back to Atlantic Ocean. Upon me hills to country. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we'll be debating whether or not the rescue mission is on course. We are looking at the rescue mission. Is it on course? The debaters will be answering that question, yes or no, and why. And when we say on course, we're going to start with the planning and the preparation. What was their needs assessment to identify the areas that needed to be rescued? Did the rescue team have the requisite qualification? Are they ready? Do they have the equipment, the necessary things? And how is the implementation? We're going to pick some specific areas. We're going to pick some specific areas to talk about and see whether the rescue mission is on course. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Let me welcome from the nation's capital, Mr. Jimmy Eastman, on Friday Night Debate. Welcome, Jimmy.
Hey, Dennis, glad to be here. Good topic, because if we all going to be affected. So if it's not on course, let's see if we can help get it steered back on course.
Thank you. Let me welcome Father Elijah Washington, panelist here on Friday Night Debate. Father Washington, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Jai. I'm always humbled to be on the show to provide education for our people. It's a sad time for our country, and I'm glad that we can provide some answers to some of the major issues in our country.
Thank you. Let me welcome J. Victor Nabwe. Mr. Nabwe, welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. Thanks for inviting me. It's good to be here.
Also, let me welcome our friend from Waplo Institute, all the way from Kilipo, Kanweken, Mr. Mohammed Sharif. Welcome, sir.
Dennis, it's good to be here.
Mr. Sharif is also FOL political analyst. We have more debaters coming in. We are waiting for Glendy Jane Jr. from G Talk. She will be joining us shortly. And I want you to invite a friend and let's debate the issue. Before we talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, whether the rescue mission is on course, something tragic happened in Monrovia today. Yesterday, we had people being killed in Kinjo in Grand Cape Mount County at the Bay Mountain protest area. Today, another Liberian was killed on charges of power theft. And this was very tragic. I'm still in awe as to what happened. Let's take a listen, an eyewitness account of what occurred.
These flyers on you. They were true. At the time. He said he wanted when he slapped my ear, I had a friend keep up behind me with the flyer. Oh, the LEC men took pliers and used pliers on you.
Yeah, they were two at the time.
Okay.
So when I used the pliers, I was still fully resistant. I said, the man, the only way they may leave the place, or let them tell me what they may do. All of a sudden, another two LEC men came in. When they came in, the king was one officer. The officer said, as you came out here, let's hear what
Oh, the officer told you to give the hand.
Yeah.
The officer had gun with him?
Yeah, the tear got gone.
Okay.
Yeah. So when he asked me to give my hand, I said, no. Why am I giving my hand for? I said, no, I'm giving my hand. I didn't do anything. Then my mother came in. My mother came in, honey, and put it. They tried licking him, and oh my God. My mama said, my son is going nowhere. My son is going nowhere. So the last group that came, our 6 men, when they came, the rope, what they used to clear when they go, the other guy is plugging the man's face.
Oh, one of the LEC power member took that rope and slapped it in whose face?
In Lala's face.
Oh, the little Lala?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the other guy took the helmet, but stood there when the man here today.
So the man took the helmet, the LEC helmet, and knocked it on Lala. So where was the police officer?
The police officer was present.
The officer was present.
The officer was present. The officer was even hitting Lala. The officer was even hitting me. The officer was forcing me to quack me. I said, no, you cannot quack me in my house. For no reason, you will not quack me. So
after the man knocked the helmet on Lala,
the man dropped.
And Lala dropped.
Yeah.
So what was the approach from you and community dwellers that were around?
The community dwellers, they were all at the window because our house is an iron gate. When they came in, the last man, I had to close the iron gate. So my Oma, my auntie, 2 of my aunties are in the house. I had to turn to start fighting. So we were fighting.
That's the eyewitness account of what happened, and you can see the picture of Josephus, who was allegedly killed by the LEC power theft team. Father Washington, another death of Liberian in the hands of people who are on government payroll.
You know, my hearts go out to his wife and his family. But you know, I'm a journalist by profession. I'm a professor in their philosophy. I don't know. Whenever I listen to a story, I like to provide active listening. And based on my background in journalism, I like to go for the 5 W's. I listen to the guy who calls himself an eyewitness. I don't even know whether he's an eyewitness. You know, one thing I learned from Liberia over the years, especially when we had this war in our country, people will come and tell you that I was there when your father was killed. And 3 days after, you will see your father, he will come and see you. And that's the kind of country we have. People can be very, in as much as don't want, all my life, I've never tried to base my analysis on one side story. I always like to go for all the story. Right now, the only story I'm hearing is the story of this lady and this guy. We have not heard the story from the people from the LEC. When I listened to her today, one thing she said, which was not making any sense to me, was that she wasn't there, but she gave the story like she was there. And then she even went to the point and said that her husband was taken to the hospital, the place was closed, they brought the hospital door open and put a hospital in and they ran away. I'm like, if this is actually a true story, why would the police or nobody have not said anything up to this time? Right. Why is this a sad story to somebody to just die? I would like to get the full story. I don't like to base my analysis on sentiments. Somebody can come to me and cry right in front of me. I will wait when you are done crying, then you tell me the story. So for now, in as much as this is sad, I like to know. I would like to hear the side of the LEC guys. I really would like to hear the side of the story.
Right, and our reporter, everywhere reporter, was at the scene when where the people gathered, and he reported the same story, but he was not able to get to
now
the LEC person.
This story he reported a story that somebody told him, right?
And the name of the fellow who was killed is allegedly killed Josephus Tukpe, and I heard there was also a report where someone say his uncle because the fellow, this general kid who is explaining that's his father, or explained that about his son and his nephew,
So
and that was
how did they say he died? Did they beat him and took him to the hospital?
right. So according to the story, that this gentleman explained, he was beaten and taken to the hospital. He was taken, and then his body was dropped at the clinic, and then they went away. And according to the eyewitness, they were all drunk, and the name is Josephus Tukpe.
Well,
Someone believed to be his uncle was on that camera and confirmed it. Let me go to Mr.
with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, that was what was reported, and so far there has been no report from the police or LEC. Mr. Nambe, that's the story in Monrovia today, Carwell, to be specific.
Yeah, I mean, this is really sad. And I listened to Father Washington. You know, I can understand the need to, balance out his story. But my concern is who is in charge of this country? Everybody seems to be doing their own thing. You go to Cape Mount, people are getting killed. You go to the university campus, students are protesting. People get killed. Power theft, somebody getting killed for power theft. I mean, how much power are they stealing? So I don't know, but I listened to some clips of this thing to do. I was very concerned today. I don't really think, no matter how much power that is being stolen, I don't think that kind of theft should amount to the taking of a life. And I listened to the press secretary today, some clips of the press conference. I'm not sure there was any mention of this incident. If there were, I've missed it. But I'm sorry?
After.
It was after. Okay. Yeah. So, but I'm just really concerned. I don't know. I think the justice minister has not been confirmed yet. And it just seems to me like there seems to be a vacuum. I'm not sure whether this government is being overwhelmed by all these things, or but it is scary. I really don't have much to offer. I'm just very sad and disappointed that this is what is happening today in Liberia.
But you sound a little political, Mr. Number. What that got to do with this government?
Well, somebody has to be in charge, Dennis. Who is holding anybody accountable? I don't know. I don't see it.
What the government could have done to have prevented what happened?
Well, first of all, I think if for instance, if the situation that happened in Cape Mount,
we're talking about the power theft, the alleged power theft death.
Okay, so first of all, what kind of security personnel does LEC have? Are these the company security? Is this the police? I don't know, but if it is the company,
it's the group that is headed by Madam Mary Brown, that's the power theft group.
Okay, so this group must have been empowered by the government, obviously, because I think Madam Brown, yes. So do they have the power to kill people? I don't understand that. And what kind of instruction do they have? I don't understand that. I mean, those are my concerns.
Let me go to Jimmy. He worked with LEC before. Jimmy, what does this power theft thing look like? Because according to the eyewitness, they said the house is power theft, and he said, "Oh no, I have my meter. I have this. I have that." So they declared the house that they are taking current illegally, and that's why they went there to enforce.
Yeah, thank you.
And Jimmy, how does this power theft look?
Very good. This and just like you said, Dennis, this is near and dear to my heart because before the war, I mean, I was captured on duty, being the essential personnel that was there to keep the power on. LEC has always been near and dear to me. Let me just tell you this much, that the real loss, where we lose money when it comes to power theft, is not so much those little neighborhoods and communities, but where we lose most of the money when government doesn't pay us as LEC. The government is one of the most, where we lose the most, one of the biggest losses on our system is there, and companies, and that's where the real loss. Of course, these communities, they don't consume that much, so even if we disconnect them, there'll be some improvement. But as the, when you hear them saying that LEC is in the red because of power theft, it is deeper than that. They are only giving you a superficial view of it. If you look at the books, you will see where where they're hemorrhaging, and it's only they tell these things to laymen.
Jimmy, have you followed the activities of this power theft group headed by Mrs. Brawl?
Yes, yes, they've been going around. Yes, I have, and they've been going around disconnecting here and there. All right. If you listen to the narrative from the wife, she said that they had just rented this place to a new tenant, and the tenant requested that the meter be put inside because people are stealing meters. So that is an incident has to be if you're going to have your meter stolen when you go to bed, what does the client do? So instead they try to put it indoors for safety. When they came around, they were asked to go in the building to see the meter. The tenant was not there, was elsewhere. And that is when the commotion broke out between the landlord and the LEC people wanting to see. But what I don't understand is, as an LEC personnel, to disconnect the line, you don't have to go in the house. You can simply go to the pole and disconnect the triplex or duplex, whatever they got, whatever kind of wire they got up there, and disconnect it. They didn't have to get into a fracas. So I kind of wonder. I think it definitely got out of hand. And I don't think this is we have to have the justice minister in place and all of that. This is something that should have been able to handle at a much lower level. Okay, first of all, the LEC people have to have strict instructions of the limitations of what they can and cannot do. That should have been, they are not police officers. They have to exercise constraint. As you see, it wasn't the police that did this. It was one of the people with a tool, as I will explain. They don't have the right to infringe on somebody's person like that. So again, training. You have to make sure your people know how to do things and to do it the right way. So it could have been avoided, but it requires people knowing the boundaries of where they're supposed to go and how to interact with citizens when they get there.
Thank you. Let me welcome Ms. Glendy Jean Jr., who's just joining us. Glendy, welcome. This is the first I've heard that power theft people have allegedly killed somebody. What's happening?
Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. It's quite a depressing story. But I also want to say that I've become very critical of the issue because I think by now somebody from the police, even if they're investigating, someone should have issued some preliminary statement condemning the act and expressing condolences to the wife. This is a woman who has now subsequently become a widow because people overreacted. Like we're hearing power theft. If you're behind the people in the community for power theft and they which may be like $100 or $200, but you have a government who owes so much money in LEC. I think this situation today was very unfortunate. I think also these people have been allowed to act this way. This is the task force that has been working with Mary Brawl, even during President Weah time. And they continue to work with her now. What are their directives? What have they been allowed to do?
Exactly.
Why do they still continue to do this? Why do they think that they have the law in their own hands, that they will pursue someone in their home or in someone else's home and beat the person up until they kill that person? This is unacceptable. I mean, there's no other way to say it's sad. I would hope that young lady will get a lawyer as soon as possible. for this. And then also, what even scares me is the fact that no one from LEC has made a statement. And immediately following the incident today, the people protested in the yard of LEC. So
Yeah.
no statement from even Mirabel. It's a sad situation. Very sad.
And Glendy, Father Washington is skeptical about the story.
Well, that's he has a right to do that. I'm not. I was on another platform. The wife was interviewed. She there were another guy who was also a mad and ill-treated, who also confirmed her story. Immediately following the incident, there were protests in the yard of LEC. Father Washington can believe what he chooses to believe. I have my own opinion. I listened to that woman cry today and say, this is her husband. They've been married for a year. They've been dating for almost 14 years. They have an 11-year-old son. This is the man she loved. And she was on the phone with him earlier today. And around 1 o'clock, when she could not get him on the phone, that was when she learned that he was being beaten. So I believe her story because I could see the honesty in the tears she shed earlier today.
Mr. Sharif, power theft, and I like how Glendy put it, nobody is beating government officials for stealing millions, right? I think Mo Ali at Water and Sewer put out a list of people that owe water. You know, they're not paying their water bills. I mean, how have we come to this point that people on government payroll are taking orders in their own hand? They are not even state police.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. So what you see going on, you have a small elite. You have the well-paid government elite, who participate in big bloated bureaucracy, who are well-paid and well-fed, and they are the fattest. They're the fattest ones in the city. Riding the big cars and sleeping in the big houses in the mansions and stuff like that. Two, three mansions, some of them, and a poor guy, is now allegedly assaulted, and he has lost his life. So my heart goes out to this man and his family. So what are my expectations? That the government issue a statement immediately to offer some condolences to the family, identify with the bereaved family. You don't see that. You're not seeing that right now. I don't think you're going to see that in the weeks and perhaps months to come. And this is the insensitivity that again is turning some of us into cynics and critics of the new regime. When people say they've just been in office for a month, it doesn't matter right now. What matters is they're there right now, and all of these things are happening under their watch. And it's almost as if, so we've gone from George Weah, who didn't speak to the Liberian people, to another president who is not speaking to the Liberian people. So what we hear, thank God for the press secretary, who's very active, who's a journalist, using her skills and stuff like that to speak to the Liberian people once a week. If it wasn't for that, you hear nothing, right? You hear nothing. It's almost, the people think they can fool us, that we're not seeing anything, but we see these things. So what are you hiding from? Why don't you come out and issue a statement? To Father Washington's point that, you wanted, and as someone who studied journalism as well, yes, you want to verify these things. But at the same time, there's always two sides to these stories. What is the other side saying now? Why is the other side quiet, very quiet, as if nothing is happening? And we will get to other issues, Dennis. This government now, these unforced errors is very concerning. Listen, if they're watching Focus on Liberia, we've been very critical. I talked about hiccups last week. And if they watch that show, so these hiccups, these unforced errors still continue to this week. And perhaps next week is going to continue. Next month is going to continue. and we're going to live like this for the next 6 years if nothing is done to quickly reverse the downward trajectory of this administration.
Mr. Abu Bwakai Dukle is joining us from Canada. Mr. Dukle, we have deaths in Cape Mount yesterday, and the information minister said the protesters had guns. They arrested 18 of them. I don't know if they arrested their guns as well. Today, another story, death in Carwell because of power theft, they say. Scary stuff. Unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, Dennis, and hello to my fellow co-panelists. You know, Dennis, this is the symptoms of what is wrong with the Republic of Liberia. And sometimes, as Brother Mohammed said, we are not sitting there to criticize because we want to criticize. No, we want to see improvement. We want to see things getting better. So I saw snippets of YouTubes that were produced after this Carwell incident. But Dennis, you see, if you follow the story closely, you find that most of this lawlessness, particularly in area that's supposed to be law enforcement related, Mary Brown has put herself to a position where she's now become a power unto herself. Since when someone's supposed to be in charge of collecting or preventing power theft in the process, since when? I mean, like, who does that? So what? And the decent thing should have been a statement from LEC almost immediately when this happened, followed by the Liberian government. We never saw anything like that. Nobody said anything up to this point. But personally, I'm not surprised because with all the things that have been happening, when you look at the record of Mary Brown, starting from when Madame Salif was in power and all the things she did with impunity, with complete lawlessness. I mean, I just, when I heard the story this afternoon, today, I just thought of this poor woman who has just lost her husband because of somebody alleging that the power has been stolen. I mean, this is how low we have gotten. And you know what, then the scary thing is, Liberians have come to normalize this to be the way of things. Unfortunately, this is what that is scary. People think it's normal, you know, and that is the scary part for me personally, because now no one is afraid of being accountable for whatever he or she does, because you know, mob justice is now the norm, and people who are supposed to be the ones to tell people how to do this thing properly, they themselves are in charge. So, I mean, what is it? Is it a coincidence? What happened in Cape Mount and then what happened in Carwell today? No, it's just like I said, it's the symptoms of what is wrong with the Republic of Liberia. Politicians come with fancy slogans, you know, who arrest corruption and they pay lip service. I mean, people who go to work every day, they expect to be paid. So we have come to normalize being paid after 6 months. That's normal now. We've come to normalize that. So for somebody to say, okay, isn't there a better way to prevent power theft than to have this so-called group of people who are supposed to be there to check whether somebody is sitting in power or not, and then taking the law into their own hand as if to say they are not part of the government? Then it speaks to something more disturbing than what we saw today. And I can bet you this is not going to be the last of these kind of events where people will lose their life, because our mindset needs to be changed. This is not how things are done. This is not how it should be done. There are better ways that things should be done. So, I mean, you can be skeptical. of the veracity of what has happened or what has been said. But somebody lost their life in the process. Is it not true that somebody lost their life? And like I said, up to now, LEC has not said anything. No, the national government has said anything.
Right.
Is it? Are we living in the jungle? And this is a country that says they are 170 something years old. What have we to show for those years?
Let me just say this, right?
I want to throw something in there before you come in.
Yeah.
Which is how, to what extent does this reflect on the current administration? The reason I'm saying this is this was put into place, power theft, there are a lot of things being stolen. Water theft, we don't have, all different things. Even GS, should we have a task force for all the thefts that's taken place over there? So since the new president took over, is he looking at these things to make some changes? Or is there somebody there? Or the people from government are still taking, like LEC, is it still money captain? Is it? And I'm not saying because people from will do it, but to what extent is he in control, or people who want to help his government? We always talk about, the president appoint people that are loyal to him, he trusts and has explicit confidence in. So to what extent is the government at fault here?
So this is, I said earlier, the absence of the justice minister up to now is concerning. I think Eastman Jimmy is wondering what the justice minister has to do. Look, at this time, I expected charges to be brought. We have had, I think, about 3 incidents now in the last 30 or 35 days. The University of Liberia incident, now the Kema incident, and today's incident. The use of force, right, to address any issue is incompetent. You understand me? When you run out of ideas, and then you resort to force, right? This government is comprised of people who have been in the streets with us. Alari Toba is in this government. Kofi Woods is in this government, right? These are people who understand what protest means, right? So Anthony Kessler is in this government. For crying out loud. Where is the rightful indignation? Where? When are they going to say something about it? Do they really believe that nobody should come in the street to protest, and when they do so, they should get killed? Is that what we've been fighting for all these years? I think it is wrong. I think it is very disappointing, and it is wrong. And I believe all these people, look, in any part of this world, by now, these people would have either been suspended and charges being brought by now. Nothing has been said. Why?
Dennis, I don't know, but I'd like to go back to what I said earlier. The fact that we are even asking these questions about why, doesn't it send signal to us to say, if this was actually I'm not dismissing that this guy has that, but if this actually the story that we have is the actual story, don't you think the government will be the first, or even the woman who have gone to the police station and reported the story? They said the person was taken to the hospital. The journalist wouldn't go to the hospital and interview the ladies at the hospital. So why are people not going after these questions? And that's where that's where I'm getting my point that, hey, the government have died, yeah, probably do something, but hey, the story is not adding up.
So what is your suspicion?
My suspicion is that, yeah, maybe something might have happened while there was in a fight, but the story is not told the way it was supposed to be told. The story has been told from a one-sided point. The woman is saying the story from what she heard people told her, and the people in the yard saying the story from what? Why wouldn't they go to the police? Why wouldn't they go to the hospital?
They are demonstrating at the police station right now. Before the broadcast.
No, but I don't understand what Father Washington argument. Are you saying that this vacuum that you suggesting exists because from the other side is the fault of these people who are telling the story?
No,
they are telling their story. But where is the government?
Let me explain.
No, you are saying, Father Washington, you are saying the absence of the government coming in shows that this is not true.
Exactly. That's what I suggest to me.
The fact that the government, the woman did not go to the police station, the fact that the government has not gone out because somebody has died, says to me there's more than what we're hearing.
Yeah, but Father Washington, are you questioning the fact that someone died in the process?
Nobody's questioning the fact someone died. We know someone died. How the person died is what we want to know.
That we know. We know.
What do you know?
We know that this individual was mobbed by a
How do
group
you
of
know?
people.
How do you know? How?
Listen,
How?
listen, Brother Washington. Until such time there is a counter narrative to discredit or say this didn't happen, that is the narrative.
No.
I'm sorry.
You don't just say because somebody came to you and told you that, oh, I saw your father was being killed, and because you have not had a counter narrative, therefore you must believe. That's not how you do analysis.
Thank you.
You do analysis.
Thank you.
That's wrong.
We'll come back tomorrow. I know the government.
But here's what stands out.
Hold on, Jimmy. Let me bring in Mr. Thomas Cannon. Thomas is our public financial management practitioner right here on Focus on Liberia. Thomas, tonight we're not talking PFM. We're talking death for alleged power theft.
How are you?
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis.
And Thomas, what is your take? Maybe of all of us who were in Monrovia last, what is this story? What is this thing about power theft and their action? What happened today, or is it strange? Or have they been beating people for power theft? Or this is the first time you think?
If it relates to the character Mary Bro, this is not the first time. I think Madam Bro has had a history of using brute power to be able to enforce rules and regulations. And you see that she has become this person in government. Whenever they want to enforce regulations, they go to Mary Bro. And that is not a good governance practice. It is actually saying to us that the rule of law is not working in Liberia. Because if anybody does something wrong, you should go through the judicial process. If somebody steals power, you should take them to the court. Let the person be prosecuted. If they are found guilty, they should be sent to jail. But to have a certain director of the GSA, even though the regulations of the government of Liberia provide that one person cannot work in two capacities in the government of Liberia at the same point in time, Mary Bryce was the head of GSA. At the same time, she is the head of the anti-power theft program at the LEC. So that the police are no longer working. Even if you want to request the NSA and everyone else to get involved to help you with this, no. Only Mary Bro is able to do this. And if this is happening, then we have a problem. That only one person can be able to enforce the rules and regulations of the country. Then where is the governance system? But coming back to the issue of power theft, power is actually one of the binding constraints that we have to our growth process in Liberia. And therefore, we really need to take the issue of energy very serious. And this is why I have always been saying that how do you, as a government, the Unity Party government, develop a platform to transform the economy of Liberia and leave out power? You have arrests that have no energy in it. And there is not even an effort to be able to link energy to any of the acronyms that you have in arrest. You can use energy to promote agriculture, you can use energy to promote other things, but there is not that effort. So energy is completely left out of it. Over the past years, we've invested a lot of resources in the energy sector. I think it was in 2022 or 2023, the government of Liberia even provided $50 million to LEC through the national budget. I think in the end, they only provided $8 million to them. I had issue with that because for a state-owned enterprise, if the government is giving money to LEC or Water and Sewer or any of these entities that are meant to provide support to the national budget through the businesses that they do, it should be a loan. But to just outrightly give them money in the budget, which is not a loan, it will create a situation where they will not really be able to work, to make profit, and be able to pay back. So we have always treated energy as a political commodity. People demonstrate and we give them power. So why then should they pay for it? We are not treating it as an economic commodity. And the solution to this power issue is to privatize distribution. It is clear all over the world that you cannot bundle electricity generation, distribution, and transmission. 20 years after our civil war, we are still doing it. Why aren't people stealing power in Nimba? Because Jungle Water as a private company is doing it. Nobody will steal it. But in Monrovia, We want LEC to do this because people have interest in doing what they are doing. We are not changing any system. We are not reforming aggressively. We are tinkering around the problem. So you can bring 100 merit, bro. They will stay still power, and you will just continue to kill more people.
Thank you, Thomas. This is an improvement because when it first started, it was ARTS, ARTS. Later on, as the tangle with the edges, we got into arrest. So maybe they're going to add another E for energy and so on. But I want us to segue to our topic for tonight. Thomas, when you are not speaking, please mute yourself. You get a feedback from there. Tonight, our topic that we want to talk about is the rescue mission on course? Is the rescue mission on course? When I was preparing for this topic, I was looking for pictures of rescue team, and I didn't want to appear maybe making light of the situation, but I saw some good pictures of rescue missions that when you see that people are on the rescue. So I want us to talk about the rescue mission. Is it on course? First, before we get into the implementation itself, when you're planning a mission, there is a planning and preparation stage. Doing the needs assessment to see, well, what are the areas that need rescue? What is the qualification, or what are the qualifications of these people that are part of the rescue team? Are they ready? Do they have the requisite tools and the equipment to execute? So let's take a step back before we talk about whether it's on course. Let's start from the pre-launch or before they got on. Did we have that pre-planning? We may not be in a room, but let me start with you, Mr. Dukley. You're drinking that thing too much now. So Mr. Dukley, let's look at the rescue team before January 22nd, 2023. Do you think there was some pre-planning? They identified those areas that needed to be rescued. They have the requisite equipment, the requisite tools, and the preparedness to do this. Mr. Dukley, you are muted.
Yes, I was feeling a little dehydrated, so I had to take in a lot of fluid. Sorry about that. Dennis, from things that have transpired ever since this government took power officially, things they have done and things they have not done, tells me nothing was done properly. If anything, and it was meant for the consumption of the partisan, to give us the impression as if they are preparing for something better than the government they're going to replace. But I think things that have unfolded to date tell us that they were not prepared, they were not ready, and they do not have plan in place to make things better. My fear is that from what I've seen so far, I was willing to give this government the benefit of the doubt until such time that I'm convinced fully that they are up to the job. But so far, Dennis, what we have seen, nothing tells me that this government was ready or they were prepared for what they are in charge of.
Thank you. Let me go to Jimmy. We're talking about the rescue mission. Is the rescue mission on course? Before you answer that question, we want to look at the planning and the preparation. We want to look at the tools and equipment that any rescue team would need. And we'll look at do you see that pre-planning, and do you see the readiness of this rescue mission to deliver? Mr. Eastman.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. No. You see, every aspect of the Liberian situation, you could write a thesis on. It requires an in-depth study, not superficial study. I've heard, it's one thing when you're making campaign speeches to appease the crowd, to get the vote, to garner the vote, to garner popularity. But now the actual work begins. And to fix the deep problem that Liberia has will require scientific investigation. There's several different facets you have to concentrate on. I always would try first in education because I know through education I'm preparing the future. I'm preparing the youth to take over. But you got to look at healthcare. You have to look at agriculture. You have to look at infrastructure development. You have to look at the infrastructure development alone. There's water and sanitation. There's energy, like my colleague was just talking about. There's transportation. Okay. Then you have to look at economic diversification. Our economy has to grow. Our private sector has to be developed. We cannot do anything with everybody dependent on government jobs. Then we have to look at the government institutions themselves. How can we stop this massive corruption, this endemic system of kickbacks and bribes? All this requires a detailed study. So it's no joke. If they do plan to change things, if they do plan to correct or rescue Liberia, you need experts on, you need scientists on board. It's not going to be those who supported me in the election. I think that is all good for politics. But now the work begins. Now you need the scientists. Now you need the engineers and the experts to go to work and come up with solutions.
Thank you. Our big question is the rescue mission, of course. We are starting with planning and preparation, the tools and equipment, the qualification, and the launch. Where I work is the launching of whatever you're doing is very important. Glendy, let's look at the rescue mission, the planning and the preparation, the tools and the equipment. Do they have what it takes?
So I think that's a really hypothetical question.
Okay.
For the response that it needs. I would say there was a level of assumption from my perspective that they were prepared and that they had what it took to be able to lead this country. Within a month and all of the mishaps that we are now seeing, we can clearly say that they did not plan correctly. And if they don't correct their steps now, it's almost that they won't be able to lead this country correctly. There's just too many. I mean, yes, 30 days or 27 days may be very minimum, but from a party who preached a lot about the fact that they were ready to lead, and that they would be a different kind of government from that of the we are government. I think it's a bit disheartening for me to see that they did not properly plan this. And the results we're seeing is saying that clearly. Now, that's not to say that they cannot correct their steps. I think they need to make every effort that they can to fix some of these things that are not fixed and some of these mishaps. Of course, there's room for errors, but there's some of the errors are just too grave that we're seeing. It may be minimum, but they're grave for me. And I think they need to do something to correct their steps.
Thank you. Thomas, before the launch, the planning, the preparation, the tools that it need. I mean, if you going to rescue people from the sea, I saw, sometimes the helicopter is going there, someone, you drop something, they just hang on it. Do they have it?
Well, it's one thing to have the tools, and the other is how modern these tools are. Because if you are using the tools of 1960 and 1970 in this current period of a digitized world, they really doesn't work.
What are you trying to say, Thomas?
That's why I'm coming to. On the issue of the planning, for instance, let's look at what happened before the election. If you go to the party platform, and like I always said on this show, the Unity Party platform, I had some problems with it. For instance, they did not include the issue of decentralization, but on the specific issue of public financial management, that platform is very good. Some of the things that we have struggled with for 20 years after our civil war, the issue of our budgeting system, moving it to a program-based budget, the issue of a single treasury account, I was listening to another show. Someone was mentioning the number of accounts that the government of Liberia has, over 800. That is a major problem for cash management because you are going to have funds languaging in those accounts and the Ministry of Finance cannot even account for it. There is a possibility you will have money, but the government will still borrow because they are thinking they don't have money. So when you go back to that platform and they listed those things that they were going to do in terms of public financial management, it was very good. So on the issue of pre-planning, there was some kind of pre-planning that took place before they won the election. And if you want to see that, you need to take the platform and read it. But I think part of the problem that is happening now is this issue of a thank you cabinet that Dr. Duke often talks about. Because those plans were developed by technicians, and it goes to the point that Jamie was raising. That cannot be developed by people who are just coming to raise battle cries. But when it comes to the point of appointment, you want to appoint people to appreciate them for campaigns that they raise, for the work that they did on social media. Then you end up leaving behind those people who were basically your think tank that did the work. But are the people you are bringing on board have the tools? Do they have the capacity to be able to help you actually move forward with the reform processes? If there's a D-link there, then we start to have some of the problems that we are seeing today. And like Glenda was saying, the past 1 month has really been underwhelming. It's just been from one problem to the other. The question I keep asking is, for instance, what is the national security architecture doing? That every day you have this crisis coming up, nobody knows how the wives of army people can get rid of a defense minister. And nobody knew that was going to happen. A demonstration that took place in Morovia that spread to Grand Jide in a twinkle of an eye. So I think the past 1 month is like, I do get it that they are forming the government. It's difficult to be putting the government together and at the same time responding to these, but they should have planned after that war room declared the elections. I think they should have kept that structure in place. You should have had two systems, one with the incoming government to work, but there should have been a backdoor think tank that is actually working on these things, doing the research to inform you as to what you do on day one. But I think they dropped the ball on that. And it goes back to the point of celebration. Every time a political party wins election in Liberia, they take a lot of time to celebrate. They will be celebrating until governance will start the next day, and then they run out of ideas as to what they want, what they actually need to do. So they will really need to recalibrate. The past 1 month has not been impressive. The tools, we have not seen them bring the tools to bear. No research, no deeper analysis. They are just responding to one crisis after the other.
Father Washington.
Well, people.
We're talking about the pre-planning, the preparation, the tools, and even the team.
Well, that's what I'd say. Some of us from day one, we already knew what was going to happen. So it's just like we just smiling because we said it from day one. I said it from day one that there was nothing fundamental was going to change. I kept saying on the show when I heard Joseph Black had won, I said there was nothing fundamentally in his 40 years of administration that could prove that he was a reformer. I just think he's not a leader. For me, he's not a leader. And leaders will be someone who will make a simple decision and make sure that decision is carried out. Since the first thing he said when he came to power was that they should try to get all the government vehicles. I don't know whether that has happened. I don't know what has happened. He said he was going to do an audit. I don't know what has happened. We never heard nothing now. These are little things. These are not difficult things to do. These are just little things that you take action. You give a timeline. You come back to the people and say, hey, we said this and this has happened. Then these people begin to build trust in you. But if you say something and after 3 weeks, nothing is happening, no report, you're not telling people anything, this is a sign of weakness. This is some incompetence. And we said it from day one. There was nothing fundamental that was going to be changed in this country with this leadership. I said from the beginning that the first day I saw Black Guy when they had that press conference, he spoke after the elections, and I saw how the people were so chaotic. I just knew there was something wrong. When he came from the United States, the way I saw that the airport was so chaotic, nothing was in order. I knew something was wrong. Something was wrong. There's no leadership. Do we expect anything to change? Nothing is going to change. People just keep moving the goalposts over and over. People like Thomas and Sherry on this show are talking about arrest, and when a leader says something, he's going to do it. I just keep saying to you guys, just wasting your time. nothing will change. That's the same thing was going to keep happening over and over. There was no plan. There's no plan. So
you can say that,
nobody,
Father Washington.
no plan.
We saw their platform.
Politicians, you don't know politicians. Politicians are the worst people. If you want to get your country, prefer to get your country to a market than to give it to a politician. Because at least you show for the market, he's going to eat the bananas. Politicians, they will deceive you. Every day there will be something new. They are so deceptive that they will keep lying to you. So if like people think that Joseph Parker and this administration is going to change, these are the same political rascals who have come around again. They say, in a country when you point someone to a position, they will say, why didn't they appoint you to the port? They appointed you to this place. That's the cultural socket of our country. People are not going to serve. They are going to say, hey, I'm not going to the place where there's going to be chopping. You're putting me somewhere that these are people who said, yeah, that's the cultural socket. How are you going to change anything?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a waste of time.
Mr. Dukley.
Yes.
Preparation, preparedness, planning, tools, equipment.
It just, I just reflected on Jimmy had an analogy about what Liberia represents. A bucket with a lot of holes in it that needs to be plugged. And I reflected on that analogy. I thought it was a perfect one. Now that you've asked this question, it just proved that the preparedness that needed to go into the planning of the incoming government, they had their priority all misplaced. And by that, I mean, they were interested in the slogans that would sound very attractive to the partisans, that gives you that hope, which is normal. It's part of us being human to hope, especially when you're going to have a change. You always want to be hopeful that what's coming is going to be better than what you have. And Liberia is not any different. The people in Liberia are not any different. So we thought with all what we've experienced with the real government, the incoming government, it was just it's normal to hope. But the preparedness that went into their preparation to come to power, now it's clear that it was meant for their partisans. It was meant to give their partisans the impression that they are ready, they're going to be different, but those holes that are there, I don't think they are ready to plug them. Because, you see, Dennis, when people talk about tackling corruption, which is one of the things that we all agreed is really holding Liberia back, you have to start from the little things that can accumulate to become big things, such as people being paid on time, such as people have reasons to show up to work. So if you get rid of all this waste that is in the government, there is enough money to carry a lot of projects. But you have to come with a plan. You have to come with the manpower, the brain power that can execute those plans. To date, I haven't seen that in the Barker government. To date, all that I've seen and the missteps, I mean, the basics are not any different. You have to have security. You have to have education. You have to have the health sector. These are the areas that, I mean, what would it take? What would it take for Liberia to be a place where you say people are now law-abiding? There's no more mob justice. Dennis, I can see one thing that I can point to say this indicates to me that the government, the Barker government that came into power was ready. They were prepared to rule, to lead this country. No, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif.
Yeah, same question.
Same question.
Yeah, Dennis, if you are building your house, okay, or when you're ready to build your house in your hometown of Bokonjlei, and you hire me to to lay your foundation and build a house. I don't think you're going to build a good house. I don't think your house is going to crumble in the first week if you hire me. So what am I saying here? When you are hiring your personnel for government, I mean, you don't hire. I mentioned this, the first week when these new hires were carried out. Some of the people I wasn't satisfied with. For example, is the Minister of State. The Minister of State. I wasn't content, and I wasn't content with the whole idea of creating two ministers of states without portfolio. What are they doing? I mean, dissolve the Minister of States without portfolio, appoint, if you ask me now, restructure the government with, a month in, withdraw your Minister of State, appoint an effective Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, restructure your security team, get a competent security team in place. There is a problem, Dennis. So all of what we're talking about have security implications. Look at what's going on in Kinjur at the mountain company site. So it's almost as if the president is unaware of whatever is going on. And then the other day or today or yesterday maybe, you had the Minister of Information that says, it's the other people that were responsible for this. And people have to stop with this. Stop with it already. Stop with the blame game. I don't care if it's J.J. Roberts that started this. You know what? J.J. Roberts did not deploy the police. J.J. Roberts did not deploy police over there to shoot live bullets. And from what we're hearing, there are multiple, at least 2 fatalities. The government is saying 1, the citizens are saying multiple, at least 2. Where is the truth? Who is telling the truth? How come the government is not telling us what is going on? And me, as someone who's very skeptical of government, I think the government is not saying the truth. The government, truth or not, the government is not saying much to the people. And this is the county that the president carried. So another letdown. So that could go to Father Washington's point that, you don't trust these, politicians. So you go in Cape Mount, other places, and they voted for you. And now the people they're feeling let down. And so we come back to the LEC situation where this poor guy allegedly now is murdered. We don't know yet. We don't have all the evidence. We don't have all the facts. But one thing that I do know that, that one of the panelists, I think was Thomas, spoke to that, was Mary Bro. I have said before, Mary Bro is not policy. Mary Bro cannot be the enforcer for everything. You're cleaning the city of Monrovia. It's got to be Mary Bro. You're trying to straighten up the passport scandal. It has to be Mary Bro. You know what Mary Bro carries around? Gangs. Thugs.
Yeah.
So this is exactly how you want to run your government, Mr. Boakai. You're coming in, you want to change things, and you want to deploy thugs, just like the Tonton Macoutes in Haiti under Jean-Claude Duvalier. Yeah. Is this the kind of government, a failed state? This is the kind of thing you want to create for the Liberian people? It's despicable. I'm indignant by all of what I'm hearing, by all of what I'm saying. I'm very indignant, and the Liberian people should be indignant that their government, year after year, that's elected, is giving them this kind of leadership from the jump. We're not even a year in yet. So I would hate to see now that people are going to clamor for George Weah. That is a possibility. And how scary would that be? But it is a possibility now, because 1 month in, the alternative is no different.
Thank
from
you.
the previous. So
Yeah, but then,
I would say this to conclude this. Your minister of state that we're not hearing from, that we're not seeing, how about you withdraw this minister of state? You have deployed Mr. Kessley at the Ministry of Information, underutilized people like that. He is security minded. At least he knows what he's doing. So how about you deploy him to the minister of state? You appoint him as your minister of state, restructure some things around, get rid of some of these people that are not giving you anything. You had a minister of internal affairs. What is he doing amidst all these security situations? It is deadly scary at this time.
Thank you.
Dennis, allow me 1 minute to buffer what.
I want to go to Victor before he falls asleep.
Okay.
Yeah, because of Victor, we're talking about the pre-planning and the people, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can plan, but if you don't have the right team, the right people to execute, you will have problem. And so far, I have said that really, when you look at the entire list, we still don't have people in place that will do these things. For instance, the superintendent of Cape Mount County, we're still talking about Mary Brawl, right? A team that was put together maybe haphazardly to go after power theft, and that is still in place.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So yeah, I think there's some signs there of some pre-planning, some preparation. Obviously, these parties before the campaign, they have a policy team that puts together the policy, which constitutes the national agenda on which they run their campaign. And I think the arrest campaign came out of that team, which I think kind of crafted the what is now the arrest policy agenda. That very agenda has been extended into the 100 days, deliverable. So I think there's some signs there, but I think what is troubling this government is, first of all, unfortunately, I would say, they had to coalesce with other factors after the first round of the elections. And I'm not sure to what extent that coalition is not obstructing their vision, their ability to implement. So they brought on people on board just to win the elections after the first round. And it seems to me, ever since on November 14th, the whole rescue team is being consumed by the formulation and roll out of this government. And I'm just really, really kind of, but I think this is what is obstructing the implementation of the agenda. There is a plan. I mean, if you look at the 100-day deliverable, I think there is something there, which they intend to expand beyond 100 days. So I think there is something there, but the implementation requires the personnel in place, as has already been pointed out here by previous speakers. But I think getting those personnel in place is becoming a problem, a real problem. Just building a consensus around a candidate, I mean, it's proving to be the Achilles heel for this government, and I don't understand it. Unfortunately, they have to satisfy their coalition partners. Senator Johnson is very vocal. Yeka Koluba is very vocal, and these people believe, like it or not, they have the followings. And so I think this is what is giving them a hard time to roll out this government and get started. I think that's where the problem is. But I think there was some pre-planning. Now, you would think that when the transition team was in place, the vetting would have also begun, so that right after the inauguration, I believe on the day of inauguration, President William may have announced the first 5 cabinet positions on the very day of inauguration. It took this government over a week to make the first, if I'm not mistaken, even 2 weeks, just to make the first announcement. So I think the plan, there's some plan on the books. The problem is getting it started, getting the personnel in place to get it started. I think that's where they're having difficulties.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let me give you the 30 seconds so we can go to
Yeah, I'll
the
give you that. So there are two aspects of this presidency. There's the political know-how, how to, get the presidency, how to win. Okay, that's the political know-how. But now that you've won, there's the technical know-how.
Right.
The technical know-how involves how to implement your policy. It requires a specialized knowledge how to even implement. For instance, you say you want agriculture to be just to implement policy that requires a special type of knowledge. Then there's an administrative competence you're going to need. That is the day-to-day handling of administrative affairs of the government. Then there's a third part is the crisis management. You need people with the technical expertise just to handle these crises. You see, they need to go in phase 2. They're still stuck in phase 1. But now you have to bring in the technical know-how to administer the administration. That is where I see they're stuck, and that's why they're not going anywhere right now. They haven't brought that technical know-how to bear.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate, and our big question is the rescue mission on course. And when we talk about the rescue mission, and they were coming to rescue, they identify some areas, implicitly or explicitly. We talk about corruption, the lack of transparency and accountability. We heard a lot about incompetence. We heard about the bad roads or broken infrastructure. Education in a mess from even the Salif time. Broken healthcare system, the lack of security. We're all complaining about unexplained deaths. Bad governance, the drug abuse, the Zogo crisis, they will call it. Poor sanitation, lack of tourist attraction. So we're going to make tourism. So these areas were identified. Based on those areas being identified and coming to rescue, the question tonight, which before we even go into details, I want, if you can answer me yes or no, is the rescue mission on course? Let's start with Glendy.
It's the rest.
It's
I thought
okay
it was.
okay.
Dennis, I think it was the same question. I think I answered it before.
Answer it again.
And I think based on all the mishaps that they've had, I would still want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're on course. Why it may be that it's not perfect, but that I don't want after not quite 30 days to say that they're not on course, because I want to make sure that we get to 100 days. And then we can clearly evaluate, because that would have been adequate time for me to evaluate whether the ship is sinking or whether they're going to be able to rebound.
Right. And we don't really mean that it's sinking yet. On course means if you plan to do something for 1 week, you are either ahead of schedule, behind schedule, or you fall off completely. But I won't push you that much. Let me go to Father Washington. Is the rescue mission on course?
Well, I don't know whether this is a rescue mission in the first place, because if they're coming to rescue me, I would tell them just stay, don't come.
Mr. Nambe, is the rescue mission on course?
The rescue mission has not started yet, Dennis. There is no course that it hasn't started yet.
After 35 days?
It hasn't started. I mean, look, what is started? 4 cents reduction on gasoline. This is the rescue. 25% reduction on the bag of rice. This is the rescue. I mean, come on. It hasn't started.
But let's look at the audit, right? The planned audit. We talk about the HPX, money is coming in. Now we're talking war crimes court.
Wait. Money is coming in?
HPS, according to what was negotiated or what is being reported, is there's a $5 billion that is coming. He has talk about the audit. There is they are meeting regularly. Kula Fofana is reporting, on a regular. President Weah group never used to talk to us now. So if they are having regular cabinet meetings, people are coming and meeting the president. All these things are going on. And you say the rescue mission has not started. There's no cars stuck in the mud. In fact, the cleanup campaign started even before the rescue, before inauguration. How can it not be on course? Or
So
Why would you say it has
I
not
would,
started?
I would say one of the biggest things I would point to would be the HPX on negotiation. If anything were to come of it, yes. But as far as we're concerned, what is it that you know about it? Absolutely nothing, because they've said nothing about it. Besides the photo op, what other information do we have? Absolutely not. We got some analysis from
But
the
it began, right? So that's what we're
begin.
talking about.
How? Tell me which of it has begun?
They talk.
Nothing.
They went and met the president and say, "Hey, this is,"
So
because
that's the
there was a lot
beginning.
of noise prior to President Bouakai taking seat.
Okay. So
Remember
yeah,
the 30 million?
I mean, we're hopeful. I agree with you. I think that we should be hopeful, but that's all we have, hope. Hope is not a solution to anything. So the meeting was held. There is no readout on the meeting. The government has said absolutely nothing. Besides the photo op that we saw, there's nothing else. But the Front Page Africa, I was going to say, came out with some very good analysis. The deal that is being negotiated is what the actuality that can be realized for this deal, but from this deal is probably worth 10% of the $5 billion. So where are they going to spend the other money, and how are they going to recoup this money? So it seems to me like a pie in the sky kind of thing that they're handing out here. So they need to come to us and give us an analysis on what is it that they're doing, how they intend to do it, and what is it we're going to get out of it. We don't have that. As far as I'm concerned, that is not a deal. There's nothing.
Thank you. Let me go to Thomas. Thomas, the rescue mission, I would think, has started. Is it on course?
Yeah, I mean, this is a journey of 6 years. It has started. They have to go for the next 6 years before we go to elections. But I think the point is that they are behind schedule. Up to now, for me, I haven't seen the final version of the 100-day deliverable. So whatever the government is doing right now, I don't see what is the plan that is guarding it. Because what was circulated in the different chat rooms wasn't a final document. So I think the rescue has started. It is behind schedule. I think they need to speed up. The point with other political parties coming to help the Unity Party win the election shouldn't be a stumbling block, because in monitoring evaluation, there's this thing called learning and adaptation. When things change, you change your strategy and you change your approach and you adapt to it. So while they were welcoming these political parties, they needed to be adapting the plan. How can we accommodate all of these people in the governance process as an inclusive governing body that we use to move forward? So I think they needed to adapt. But I just wanted to conclude on the point of the WIA regime and now. I think what many Liberians wanted was to stop the bleeding, and we could find a way to be able to move forward rather than retrogress. So I don't think I hold any regret for having raised my voice to make sure that we are left power. I think regardless of what the delay is, this is a marginal improvement over George Weah. We are just saying these things for the government to be able to improve so that we can move forward. But we don't regret George Weah leaving.
So, Mr. Kenneth, in order to
Hold on,
adapt, you need someone to lead a flock, right? There has been nobody leading this flock. That is the problem. I tell you what, there were people on the transition team who were on the clusters, expert, who helped to craft this agenda. They are complaining they did not know who to go to make valuable, meaningful recommendations of people who could serve on these clusters. Do you understand me? So this food fight that is going on is what is killing this government, and nobody is taking the lead on it. The president is absent on this problem, and it is the problem that will be deviled in until someone steps up to the plate and take the lead on the thing. President Boga is not taking the lead. He has not.
No, he's not.
Thank you. And Thomas, you were talking about slight improvement over President Weah, right? We saw the now people are saying, hey, even though Mirabro was using brute force, this death never occurred under Weah. We saw the concessions things were already always there, but we didn't have this kind of fatality at a protest. Weah government was being protested against all the time. And President Bouakai first protest, that was the ladies, they closed the city down. The second protest, they're killing people. And today, what happens? So how is that improvement?
So Dennis, if you follow the situation in Green Cape Man County, the agreement that the B Mountain is currently implementing was just renewed under the George Weah administration. Did you follow that?
Right.
Did you follow that renewal process that people came from Grand Cape County and advocated
Right. They
that
were
they should
even
not
dragged
renew?
at
They were
the
dragged
Capitol.
at the
Yeah.
Capitol building. They were dragged. They stepped in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a problem that has been.
So that's why people were expecting executive order when President Bouakai came into play into power, but we couldn't see actions.
I agree with you. One of the issues that the people of Grand Cape County have a problem with is the presence of the army, for instance, right? They are saying that because for me, the solution to all of these concession issues is for us to go back to our concessioning framework and see how we can improve it to include the people, their
And
voices.
that's part of the rescue era, right? Rescue us from bad concessions.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But the problem is not entirely a problem that is being made by this government. But the point is that when they came on board, for instance, why didn't you withdraw the army? Withdraw the army if the citizens are having problem with it, because we cannot keep suppressing them by the presence of the army simply because we want the concession to go on. So these are things that they need to take into consideration and work around them so that we can have a peaceful country and then we can focus on governance. But I think they've started, regardless of what we do, it's a 6-year journey they have to go on. We can't stop them. So we can just talk, highlight the issues where the limitations are so that they can improve on them for us to move forward.
Mr. Sharif, we're talking about there are things, right? Rescue team, when it comes to corruption, lack of transparency, accountability. I mean, you use the word incompetence a lot. So these are the things that this current administration came to rescue. You're talking about the healthcare system, unexplained death, poor sanitation. Is this rescue mission on course?
No, I mean, if you give them a 1 month gray card, because look, we're talking, there's 12 months in a year. So they've already expended 1 month, essentially, not putting out fires, putting band-aids on stuff. Maybe if they continue this, you're not going to find any more band-aids in Liberia if you go to the store, because they're putting band-aids on everything. And so if I give them a 1 month assessment, then it's a downward trajectory for me. And I'm concerned. I'm very, very concerned for a 1 month old administration to have this many problems. And by the way, the AFL women said that they are going to come back again. And so brace for some more protests from the AFL. This is not funny, but I'm telling you, the way he handled the first one was so unacceptable to me. And now these people are saying, we're coming back again. And so there you have it. And then to Jim Victor's point about, how the coalition is the problem, again, more excuses. This is something I would expect the Minister of Information to say, just passing the buck to someone else. Or it was the other guy. It wasn't I. I didn't do this. I didn't sign all these concessions. It was the other guy. You know what? Even if it was Jim Spriggs-Payne, Jim Spriggs-Payne has been gone about 100 years now. Stephen Allen Benson, who cares? You are dead now. You ran for president. This is your time. So do the job of the Liberian people and quit complaining and whining about what the other guy didn't do. We don't have time. We don't have time for that. We don't have time.
And Mr. Sherry, before I go to the next one, do we have the people to do this? And I don't mean to pick on Mike Jabate, but do we have the people? Let's say
talking about my friend Mike Jabate. Mike is competent, so go ahead. Everybody but Mike.
The first. Let's look at the information minister. Yeah. Yesterday was his debut.
Yes.
And what he said, first of all, I think he was more sorry for the police station that he said was destroyed than the life that was destroyed, right? He said the protesters have guns. 18 of them were arrested, but he didn't mention whether their guns too were seized. He also talked about, hey, this kind of thing when you do is going to discourage protest. He didn't tell us that protesting is guaranteed under the Constitution.
Right.
So does Bouakai have the people? Are they qualified to carry on this rescue mission?
No, he does. He does not have the people. And right now, Dennis, you brought up the Minister of Information, Mr. Pia. Pia needs to be withdrawn, effective immediately. I mean, he performed miserably at that press conference, calling this deceased person, oh, the dead body. They have weapons. Where? So the Focus on Liberia correspondent in Monrovia asked the question, where did they get these weapons? And he could not answer the question. He was miserable to me. So he was more concerned about the police station being burned down. Of course, the police, if the protesters were antagonized and their needs have not been met, of course you're going to have situations get out of control. Of course you're going to have people expressing their grievances in ways that are unacceptable. But you caused the situation. The protesters didn't go to the company camp to start burning down stuff until the police came in fully armed with guns, ready for battle. Why are you taking guns, M16 rifles, and shooting at peaceful citizens? Dennis, back in the 50s, this is what Tubman did, to quell down a strike in Firestone. And something like this also happened. I think there were no fatalities in that. I think in 77, and then now we're seeing a repeat of these old methods of putting down strikes instead of negotiating with people. You saw the terrible living conditions. I think it was Focus on Liberia, or some journalists went down there and they were filming this place, and it's so terrible. And so this is what we're talking about. And so the Minister of Information, for him to come out there and be critical of the protesters was very unacceptable to me. And I think he should be withdrawn effective immediately. Boyka does not have the staff, but this is what Boyka, these are the people that he picked. These are the people that he picked. He picked a Minister of Internal Affairs that's not competent. He picked a Minister of Information that's not competent. He picked a Minister of State of Presidential Affairs that's not competent. He picked a Minister of Foreign Affairs that's not competent. That's what you have when you pick individuals who are not competent. And so here we are, 1 month now. This government has had more false starts and what do I always say? Unforced errors than any other government before it.
Thank you.
Dennis wants to.
I want to bring Glendy in first.
No,
disagree before you come in, Thomas. Ladies first, my man. Go ahead, Glendy. You say you disagree.
I think Mohammed is just being a bit tough. I mean, come on, give me a break. What's their yardstick for saying all these people are not competent and all of that? I mean, come on. Some of these people, we know them. We watch their hearing. They answer questions correctly. Like, for example, Pierre, he worked at Information Ministry before. So how can we come here now and to hear you say, oh, this one is incompetent, that one is incompetent? I think that's kind of unfair. Unfair characterizations of some of these people. I want to strongly disagree with that.
Before Mohammed comes in, why he said they are incompetent? Glendy, why do you think they are competent?
Well, he has. Well, this is a balance. This is a debate, right? Mm-hmm. He's coming out here and he's saying loudly that they're incompetent. So, what is their incompetence? What have they done that's incompetent? Pierre spoke to one thing, and that can be his interpretation of Pierre's response can be subjective. I felt he did a good job. He felt he didn't do a good job. Is he basing his incompetence on just one interview, or is there other things that he may know about Pierre? I think Pierre is experienced. I think he knows the job. And I'm not going to categorize him as being incompetent from one interview. And that's why I think that's unfair. When you're coming out and saying all these government officials are incompetent, then you have to be able to have something to back those statements.
Thank you. Before Mohammed comes in, Thomas, you wanted to add a little bit.
Yeah, I have a opposite way of thinking from what Muhammad is thinking. I also disagree with him. I think competence is a combination of your education, your work experience, and all of that. My concern about the current group is that there shouldn't be this feeling that people know the job and therefore let them just do their job. I have a concern about that. Because if you watch the hearing of the Minister of State, for instance, when he was introduced by the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, his very colleagues were asking him, then why do we need to even ask him questions? because he said he worked with the foreign ministry before, he has been an ambassador and all of that. And his colleagues were saying, but then let's just confirm him. So my concern is that if you have this kind of government where people are going back to the position where they served before, there could just be this feeling that they know what they are doing, and therefore let them do their job. And any manager can do this. You work in institutions where you are very competent, you are smart, they want to give you that space so that you can take independent decisions. That's my concern. But I disagree that people like Pia has worked at the Ministry of Information. He was a presidential press secretary. He just graduated from Harvard. On what basis can you say he's incompetent to become a Minister of Information?
Okay. And this is the problem that we have. Just because someone worked there before. Look, I'm an evaluator also. And so I look at job knowledge and skills. I look at work results. I look at communication, interpersonal skills, those kinds of things. So if someone who has worked in government for decades is responding this way, I will have a serious discussion with you. If I'm your boss, is this going to be your performance? Like Dennis said, yesterday was his rollout. He rolled out basically yesterday. And why are we sitting here show after show praising Kula Fufana, but now I'm here not doing the same for Pierre? I mean, he has done nothing to me, but his performance was disastrous yesterday. So I would have a discussion with him if I was his boss. Now let's go to the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs. This man is supposed to be part of the security team. And so with him at the Ministry of, at the head, as head of Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, you're having all these problems. Where is the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs? Why do we have all these ministers of states and all these security issues are occurring? And please, please save me tonight. Don't ask me about the Minister of Foreign Affairs because I can do a dissertation. Okay, so that's where we're at with all of these people who need to be withdrawn and put in competent people. You heard Dennis. You heard Ahmed. You heard Ahmed say yesterday on your show. Ahmed said no one has called him. He said there are people here. There are people here.
Thank you, Mohammed.
In Liberia, some of them are saying no one has reached out to them yet.
Thank you. Even I wanted to take a pay cut to go to Sino, but nobody reached out to me. Abu, before you come in, even the Gregory Coleman, the IG, was kind of a little subdued yesterday because what Pia was saying was what the IG was supposed to be saying.
Yes.
Pia was basically giving the police rundown while the police director is sitting right there.
Right.
I'm like, what's going on here?
Yes.
Listeners, if you are there, I know we have a lot in the queue already. 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403 #. Abu, I want you to conclude on this and we bring in our callers.
Yes. And
is the rescue mission on course?
And it is not on course.
Why?
I can honestly say it has started, but it's not on course at all because of all these unforced errors, the disruptions we've seen that have transpired ever since they came to power. And I can tell you, I can bet my life that the 100-day the 100-day deliverable that they put out, they said it was work in progress. It's not final yet. I can tell you, if they get 30%, if they can achieve 30%.
According to the press secretary, it's finalized now.
But it's not out yet.
No.
Okay. Of that deliverables. Now, you see, Brother Jimmy mentioned what the proper way of handling. If you have a plan, if you have something to implement, you have the political part of it, and you have the technical part. That's normal. That's how things are supposed to be done normally everywhere in the world. But I told you guys in this program before, we have not been able to do nothing right ever since the TWP government was overthrown.
Oh God.
Yes, and you know, this is all part of it. That lead. Look, there's 6 years of this
So
government.
you're suggesting that before the TWP government was
Hold on,
things were being
So
done right in this
Wait a
country?
minute,
No,
wait.
Dennis, I will not
hold on,
sit here
Victor.
and let
Hold
that
on, Victor.
stupid.
Let him finish. I want to
Wait a
bring
No,
minute.
the colors.
That's a progressive talking there, man.
Yeah, the
Let
man
me
is never
you gotta be
far.
kidding me, man.
Brother Vic,
All
look.
right.
So
Abu, I get your point. I want to. There are a lot of colors. I want to bring in
yeah,
colors.
the point I'm trying to make here is we have not been able to get things done the proper way because of what we get ourselves into. So the rescue mission, like I said, it was just a slogan. They have started, but all the things that have happened, can we see? Look, we know they have 6 years to go for their first term, but this I don't know if it's 20 some more days, tells us, it gives us a good idea as to what the next several years that coming will be look like.
That's a we're almost to 40 days now. Let me bring in our colors here. We have a lot of colors here. The first is Vincent Kier. If I'm getting the name right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you so much for the show. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. 1 minute, please.
Okay, thank you. 1 minute, I know. You know, it's not surprising to also us that never supported the president.
Who you supported? Who you supported?
Mr. Washington, just tell me. Breakable power. If you say on a lot, breakable power.
Okay.
Okay. You know, the first thing we have in consideration is I told people, Bata doesn't have it can manage conflict. You don't have a conflict management skill. First of all, when evaluation money came up and then something happened to him in the evaluation, he said a committee. This thing, they have a confusion. It was not in an error. He not managed it. Even the 5,000 a share, he said a committee that was to be investigated the issue. There was no result. Even the judge, the position I gave it, that did not went on okay, and said, I'm pushing my people to be work in the government. I had to push my people. Nobody can allow pushing my people. You're pushing people to work in the government. Everybody is pushing the people to work in the government. That was Thomas Washington said. He said, look, Walker doesn't have control. If Walker have control, it will be better for him, but he doesn't have a control.
Thank you.
Somehow know that he doesn't have control.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent.
In less than a month, he got all this thing going on. So after 2 months now, what you say did it? It'll be worse.
Thank you. Let me bring in Elvis Morris. Let's be brief, gentlemen. We have a lot of people on the call. Elvis, your 1 minute, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jai, and hello to the panelists. You know, I have to disagree with almost everybody on the panel tonight. I think the rescue mission is absolutely on track. You know, but I will give you a little caveat to that statement. If you were gullible and naive to think that Joseph Boyka's first rescue mission was to rescue the actual country, you were wrong. You know, there are esoteric and esoteric meanings to everything. People on the inside know what our slogan really means. It means the rescue is for us to rescue ourselves financially. Joseph Boyka is rescuing himself right now. He's in the process of doing that at a very high speed. His health situation is being rescued with the country's money. His children, financial in the future is being rescued right now. So that rescue mission is absolutely on track, but not for the Liberian people, but for the Unity Party people and for Joseph Boyka and his family. So your rescue country thing will come later, but right now the personal rescue mission is well on track.
Thank you.
And he's doing a very great job at rescuing his family and securing the future of his family. I'll leave it right there.
Thank you. You've been funny, right? Let me bring out Mr. Anthony Gay. Mr. Gay, you're live. Let me also mention that Mr. Gay withdrew as he was running for senator. We withdrew before the campaign started. Go ahead.
Oh my God! Good evening, panelists. I couldn't agree more with my dear friend Elvin. I know everyone's going to beat me to this call. So people in the queue. But listen, Mr. Jai, I like your analysis. When people say, they were supposed to forget about George Weah, but if you compare right now, what's happening right now, we didn't see people dying the way people are dying right now on a your mom walk.
Can you imagine?
Some of them not supposed to join. I'm on record for that. But let me say this to anyone: a power test should not result into a person's life being lost. That is, it is unacceptable. The situation, with the police IG, presentation being, stolen by the information minister, that in itself also is a disaster. The press secretary, she's doing too much just to keep the government afloat and keep it relevant. But even today, she said, "Oh, the final 100-day plan is ready," but she didn't have the documentation at hand. When are we? I mean, almost 40 days now. When are we going to see the 100 days deliverable all plan that has to be delivered? So now let's put it regularly for the people. Like the people rescue themselves, not the country.
Thank you.
It's been 40 days. It's been 40 days.
And the way we all present Kula, I hope she stay the course. Else she will be giving press conference for even what doesn't belong to the presidency, right? I'm afraid that she may call press conference for the incident in Carwell. I hope she doesn't do that.
And that would be okay if she does that.
No,
that would be okay if she does that.
We want the police.
Glendy, it's not going to be okay.
I'm just saying it will be, in my opinion. Let me speak for Glendy. I can't speak for anybody else here. If Kula Fofana wants to talk about whatever she wants to talk about, I will support her. And that will be okay with me.
Thank you. Let me bring on a call from Clearwater, Florida, 727 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
I'm Jimmy from Pennsylvania.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Thank you very much. I've been listening to everybody. For me, actually, we all supported this rescue mission. We getting a little disappointed from the beginning. I mean, I think it's not all close as we expected to be. I mean, looking at where the country was, we wanted to take it from the hands of Joshua and his people because they were taking the country downward. And his group has taken the worst. What we're not seeing is we're not seeing a lot of Waka like somebody in charge. That's why it's lacking. They're not really showing that the president is not showing that he's in charge. There are just so many mishaps that surrounding this government from the beginning has disappointed a lot of us. If you look at how the employment is going, like somebody said from the beginning, it took almost more than a week before he started even naming his cabinet minister. That shows that he was not even ready. Even though he had people joining him in the second round, but that thing has gone to that point where he couldn't even have his first 5 cabinet ministers to start naming, and all the other ills that we know in society. We don't expect him to come and solve all the problems one day, but at least start speaking to the people and telling the people your plan, what you're going to do. That all the mischievous deaths that occurred, that what brought him to power, people were angry. With people dying, that the 3 missing bodies, the auditors, just all the wrong things that went.
Thank
you. We haven't heard anything. We haven't heard a plan.
Thank you.
For the new government, what they're going to do. They didn't say nothing. So all these things are just discouraging.
Thank you, Jimmy.
The president needs to step up.
Thank you. Let me bring on Darling Warwood. Darling, you're live.
Thank you for having me. So, like I said the last time, I will say that tonight again. But that government has been in power for over 90 days.
No, not 90 days, my man. Do your math well.
So, when the criminal campaign started, Boaga criminal campaign, did he wait for January 22nd to start that criminal campaign? Of course not. The very night that Mr. Weah conceded on November 17th, that was the night Mr. Boaga presidential class started to run. All right, let's leave that for another day.
Okay.
So here's what I would say about whether the rescue mission is on course. Elvin Morris cleverly took that from my mouth, but I will elaborate on that a little bit. So when you say rescue mission, I think the big question is, who are they rescuing?
The country.
Thank you.
The rescue.
The country.
So we have to look at that from a different context. In my opinion, these guys did not come to rescue Liberia. They came to rescue themselves. Joe Barker, in his own words, said he was living on loan, which means after working in government for 50 years, he was broke. He had no investment, nowhere whatsoever. Those guys who he just appointed in his government, They have been unemployed for the last 6 years. Those guys have no investment. They all went broke. So Mr. Varga just brought his broke friends so that they can rescue themselves, not the Liberian people. Let us get out straight. Let's get out right. They actually can rescue, but they can rescue broke men and women who have been employed for the last 6 years and just got jobs in a few days. And look at the pace that this government is running. Where is the urgency? You talk about rescue. Like I've always said, when you talk about rescue here in the United States, you're talking fire service, you're talking police, you're talking ambulances, you're talking Navy SEAL. You're talking about people, somebody in cardiac arrest. We're talking about resuscitation. We're talking somebody bleeding to death. We're talking about stop somebody from bleeding. The government stop bleeding, stop back into power.
Thank you.
Is not trying to stop anybody from bleeding.
Thank you.
Well, it is unfortunate that we find ourselves at this juncture in the history of our country.
Thank you, darling. Let me bring up Mr. Stephen Olufemi Adams. Go ahead, Olu.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Jar, and good evening, panelists on this robust discussion tonight. First of all, I'd like to make it very clear that the person that died in Carwell tonight did not die because he was still in power. My understanding is the person was a landlord whose tenant was accused of stealing power, and the so-called power moderators of Maryborough took the law into their own hand and decided to brutalize a citizens and murder them. Secondly, I just like to make clear that I don't think this is a rescue mission. I think if it was a rescue train, it crashed before it left the station, and it appears to me that the current government, especially the president, is managing this country in absentee management while in country. The third thing I want to say is that people should stop pointing fingers to George Weah. George Weah is no longer president. George Weah was the reason I invested more than $10,000 in this rescue mission for Joseph Biker to unseat George Weah for him to bring some poverty to our country. Right now, there's nothing going on in the country. There's a bunch of people that are not competent, or people that don't have experience, or people that were living in limbo over the last 6 years in people's basement over the world, running to Liberia, pretending to be supporting the Unity Party simply to get jobs. Now, let me ask a quick question to all the people there today. All of you guys there, anybody in this country making six figures, like some, I'll tell you, I'll be very straight up. Some out of me making $200,000 to $300,000 a year will leave, run to Liberia to make $200 a month. $1,500 a month. It's not possible. These guys are just sycophant leeches that are going to completely rob the country and prevent the country from moving power. The country will not grow if people depend on the country for their livelihood of getting rich.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Let me bring up Mr. Solomon Sampson. Solomon, you're live.
Good evening, Mr. Ja, and to the rest of the panelists. I would say that the rescue mission, it is not on course. It is not on course at all. One of the things that I think that is not specified in our constitution or maybe our electoral process is for candidates to be able to come and debate the issue during the electoral process. So because of that, we don't get a clear understanding to what the plan is and how the plan will be instituted. When you guys say that the Unity Party had a platform and they had all these information on their platform, you have to read the day. Everything or almost everything they had on their platform was just recounting the problem that we already know. And besides the platform, for the few town hall meetings and speeches, political speeches, campaign speeches I watched Joseph Baga give to the Liberian people, he did not tell us about the solutions to our problem. He recounted those problems. So the rescue mission had no plan. They were not sure, matter of fact, that they were even going to win this election. So they did not plan on instituting or having a cabinet together. Then we have like you said, no infrastructure, a broken educational system, broken healthcare system, lawless country, and within 30 days, these people are dying everywhere. You go on Grand Kima, there was an issue there yesterday. Today, there's another guy from Power Tech who is there. Army wife went in the street. Joseph Baga came up to us and told us that the Army wife issues will be investigated, and we'll get back to you with the findings. Even the $650,000 that was given to the inaugural program, we're own guys. That is still under investigation. No solution.
Thank you.
It is clear that Westard is really not a presidential material. And I thought in my lifetime I would have never seen a government that would be so that can ever beat George Weah's terrible leadership. I thought I would have never seen that in the history of Liberia again. But unfortunately, it just starts to unpack now with the rescue mission.
Thank you.
Bad for our country.
Thank you.
Right.
You are scaring me. Let's go to Tubman. Tubman, your life.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, for allowing me to put up some points. And I want to commend your panelists. I mean, I think everybody spoke well. And great show, Sheriff. Kudos to you, Sheriff. Great show. But look, it's just laughable when I hear men of the quarters and I even hear people on the panel try to, walk back their statement where they said during campaign and all of that. Yeah, it's true. Campaign is over. The fact is the fact. Everything we're seeing right now is like Monday quarterback. The game is over. The game is over. Brecker is president. You guys seen the leadership. This man doesn't have a leadership ability. Brecker through all his life, he has been a follower. That's it. Liberian people gave him the leadership. He failed. He's a follower. He's not a leader. He doesn't have a plan. And what's about it? He's old. He's old. He doesn't even have anything. I'm hearing people say, "Oh, we contributed to get George Weah." Oh yeah, but this is what you get. Monday quarterback. It's done. The game is over.
Let's
get on.
Thank
you, Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. The caller with 585, Andrews, Augusta. Andrew, is that it? All right. Let me go to 3010 Lion Yankon, the citizen from North Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah. I'm 3010 Lion Yankon. Thank you, Brother Jai. Well, some of us as political geniuses, when we come out with early analysis, you guys should take it and believe it. I told you that one guy will be a dictator, the rescue team will be a dictator based on dictatorship. We came to rescue themselves, and when the Liberian people start talking, you will see the real true quarter of those people. But however, I want to send a caveat warning to those ANC and unity partisans. If you don't have a better armory to weaponry to fight President Weah or the CDC, stop using unnecessary political mantra against the CDC putting stuff in the heads of the Liberian people. And you start thinking about for the Liberian people, proving yourself, proving your quotas to Liberia instead of proving your simplicity as people who came to just break us down, spoil our democracy, and try to make the Liberian people to just be in suspense.
Thank you.
You need to stop down ANC people, and if you keep putting your mouths on President Weah unnecessarily, you reduce the number to half or 1%.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
want to thank God very much.
Thank you. Andrew, I'm coming back to you if you're ready. Augustus?
Wait, can I be the last speaker?
There's the last. You are the last speaker.
No, okay. Yes, my the do you see the on everything is that do you see the bottom?
All right. It seems that you're still not ready. So let's leave it there. Thanks to the callers. Let me go back to my panelists.
You didn't ask me that question.
Yeah, that's what
What are
I'm doing now, Jimmy.
You know what? Every administration has its own unique challenge. Ellen had her own unique challenge or during her time. The country was in a state of disrepair, and she had to resuscitate it. She had a lot of international help, but she had to bring it back and bring back the institutions to functioning. Weah had his own challenge. All the foreign aid and institutions, all the agencies that were here left. There was a mass exodus of personnel and funds, and somehow he had to make the economy survive. And he did a job. At least we did not see galloping inflation. We did not see shortage of rice and basic commodities on the market to a large extent. The challenge in front of this administration is going to be unique as well. It is going to see
how unique,
right
Jimmy.
now,
We still have the same concession issue. We still have security issue.
yeah,
We have bad roads. I can go to sign up.
those other issues are still being inherited, but they've got some new unique ones. Right now, the Liberian people have reached a point that they have become impatient. You saw what happened with the army women the other day. That was an organized a seizure of the country. They seized the country. So that gives you an example what this administration has to face. And if they're not very careful, if they do not synergize political skills and technical expertise, they're going to have a lot of problems on their hand that they wouldn't be able to handle. We already saw it. They took over and they shut the country down. So they have to be very, very careful in how they administer their policies and get the people on their side to listen to. Because without the cooperation of the people, you are not anything.
Thank you.
So that's going to be their challenge.
Thank you. Thank you to all. We are at almost the 2 hours mark, and we will be drawing down the curtain. So we'll go around the room for your closing. And I want us to close with this. Many of you said the rescue mission is not on course. How do we get it on course? What does President Boakai need to do, or what does the Boakai administration need to do now to get this rescue train moving? Someone said it crashed before it even left. Thank God there was no fatality. Let me start with J. Victor Namwe. We're going to go around the room now. In your closing, let's suggest ways to get the rescue train on track, because really, I want to go home.
Well, Dennis, thank you very much. Great show.
Well, you can go home. Stop being going home.
Yeah, go home.
I don't have a job yet.
He wants to go home
as
a superintendent.
Right. And as
And,
superintendent, I'm going to be teaching math at Sino High.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and Glennie, I'm loving all that, especially the rings. And my wife just came behind me and she saw the ring, so she said, "What's up?" My wife says you come to election tomorrow, Philadelphia. Anyway,
I'm wishing you all the best.
Yeah, thank you. Then first of all, let me correct you. The rescue train, there has been some fatalities from the crash. The defense minister is one of the casualties of the crash from this rescue train. How do they course correct?
I don't know if the tenure official appointed, I don't know if they will be.
They might be the next casualty. I don't know, but look, first of all, they came in with the right message, right? I think they realized the emergency, the dire need the people were in to be rescued. And they very aptly capture the sentiment of the people. They came to rescue us. So obviously they recognize the emergency that the people are still faced with. But then they come in and they are taking their jolly good time, like all is well, there's no need to rush. I think
Richard, how will we get back on course? Let's
I'm
get to
getting
that
back
point.
on course, Dennis. Let me get back on course. I have
Yeah.
never been off course, but now you just took me off course. So how do they get back on course? Let them begin to address real problems. I think the needs, they recognize the needs already. Since they came in, I think they really spend a lot of time just formulating government. They need to address policies. How do I get my car from here to Monrovia? I need to know that. How does a woman who comes to the market get rights to the market? The transportation. I don't know what policy this government has affected since they came. That's how I think they'll get back on course when they begin to really affect the real pocket issues. They haven't done that yet, and they're numerous. There's some very low-hanging fruit they can begin with. A lot of us here have said it. Take a look at the tariffs at the port, because most of the things come through the port. The port, the expensive to import things, and so the people are paying through their noses. What are they going to do about it? Now they're having these crises as if to say no one's in charge. The police is being heavy-handed. They probably need training in how to deal with crowd. Who knows? But they cannot be allowed to run rampant and not with no consequences. This does not happen, and they need to correct that real quickly too.
How? Give us some solution here so we can close. I want to go to the next.
Well, I raised the question of the Minister of Justice. He hasn't been confirmed yet. Why not? They don't have a secret NSA director. Why not? They don't have, the security apparatus is almost
the local government, right? No superintendent, city mayor.
There you go.
Outside of Monrovia. I mean, what's going on?
What is this? What is the whole up? Why can't they appoint the superintendent? Maybe they will help in situations like Cape Mount. I don't know. So, and there is a lot that you can still do. They're just taking too long to find a way.
Thank you. Let me go to Father Washington. I will believe it said don't test the depth of a river with both feet. You think the rescue training put feet to test? Go ahead. What's your solution? How do we get, according to you, how do we get the rescue train on course? We want this train to arrive safely.
It's been a healthy show. It's been a great exchange. Every time I think about my country and think about the number of years we've been together as a country, I'm getting the feeling that our country is cursed.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, but when I think about it, I think we're cursed because when I look at the number of years we've lived together as people, and look
Father, you're supposed to be praying for us. You are the one that's supposed to pray for our nation.
I think the country has been cursed because I think
who cursed it?
Huh?
Who cursed the country?
Well, that's the feeling. It's not a projection, but it's a feeling. Because when I look at our country from where we come from to where we are, compared to other people, I spent 8 years in Ghana going to school, and I remember my university lecturer used to tell me that people used to come from Ghana to go to Liberia for sugar and tissue. And then I look at Ghana today and look at where we are. I think the cultural cycle of our country is so corrupt that I don't know, even Jesus might not be here to rescue our country.
You're preaching, Father, you're preaching.
And because I don't know what's wrong with us, the people. Because every time people are energized and think that, oh, this government is coming, we see competent people.
So what do we do, Father Washington?
I mean, in this case, when I look at even this so-called rescue team, the driver of the team is not the person to rescue them. That's what I think. They just gotta wait for another 6 year again and just start over. And that's why it's gonna be happening to this country. Every time it's just gonna be 6 years. The people will be thinking that, okay, someone else is coming. But the people who are coming, they don't have it to rescue the country. So Jesus Booker can't do it. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have the charisma to do it. So just forget it. Wait for another 6 years again, and then another politician comes and lies to you people and say he's coming to rescue the country. So that's why I think the country is cursed.
You think we need to fast and pray for deliverance, or what do we do?
Sometimes fasting can't even do it.
All right. Today, there was our journalist, Focus on Liberal reporter, was out there. Interview a guy. He was sampling views on the Bwaka. And interview a guy. I just want to play you a snippet of the interview. I don't know why I was so touched by this. I don't know if you have the same feeling. Take a listen.
Second one, real life. When you come as a president, you can rescue the people. The first thing you do, you come to put the people together.
Okay. Reconciliation.
Reconciliation. I'm not seeing the leadership here. I'm not seeing into Waka. You understand me? We saw that in a campaign in local county. Our brother was murdered by their own brother. So if you can't, so all that means you have been working in government for a longer time. You can't reconcile the people. It will be a far message for you.
Okay.
But only on flash, we still seeing things. Your press secretary saying different things, and people saying different things. So we the common people are down here. I want to bring some of America to bring one ship and put the common people inside one day and get called as a refugee in America. The other minister and here, with your senator, and the embassy work together to work here. But we the common people before the bread come to us. I began writing already.
Okay.
You understand me? But we just here. Soon it don't take break. 4 o'clock in the morning, people low, another 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
You don't see no difference. I only watch the former president. We saw Sport Park in Thailand. And we gained the day, we gained the.
Well, it's talk a lot, but the two things that really struck me, he said, look at us. And I remember myself in that situation. He said from 6 a.m., from 4 to 6, by the time you look, the day is gone and you have accomplished nothing. Yeah. Your life is just there. So let them take all of us and take us to America. Let the government people, all the people with their money, let them stay here, be stealing. I thought that really struck me, and it almost brought tears to my eyes, because to watch, I sat on a refugee camp playing Ludo from in the morning till night. I mean, my name was Blood Soccer. I mean, I was good at that. And then in Checo, I was slow poison. And your entire day just come and go without moving a needle. And we still have Liberians in that situation, and it's sad. So when he was voicing that, I could really relate. Jimmy, you're closing.
That's the curse.
No, we'll reverse it.
Well, I've already gave the solution that this administration needs to do. They need to now synergize their political skills with technical expertise. The problem that Liberia has to be researched, and only people who have scientific background, the requisite knowledge to know how to research these problems and how to approach it will solve it. Nobody else can do it because it requires research and data analysis. So, but I think Liberians have to be honest to themselves. I think one of Brother Dukley was talking about it. We have to be honest to ourselves. There are certain things that we're not getting right, and we have to admit it. If we can't admit that we're not doing something the right way, maybe we need somebody else to do it, then we'll just continue doing it the wrong way. We have to come to a point that say, you know what? This has not worked. Why hasn't it worked? Instead of trying to keep on doing the same thing again and again, let's employ another strategy. If we have to bring people from different places to help us get it right, then so we do it. But the idea we have to concede. We have to admit that what we've been doing has not been working, and we cannot continue like this.
Thank you. Glendy, you're closing. We're talking solutions here.
So I first want to respond to 3 things that some of the callers said.
Okay.
Someone mentioned that the number of deaths we've seen, we haven't seen it before. And I want to say that's not true. There are a lot of people that unsolved mysteries of people who died in the WEA government. The difference with that and what's happened today is that we're talking about it today, And we know who these perpetrators are. We know who created this death today. So to say that, whoever said that, I don't think that was true to say that. The second thing somebody mentioned is that President Bouazizi has been in power for more than 90 days and referenced the fact of the cleanup campaign. I also want to tell that caller that is not true. The cleanup campaign people were all volunteers. They were not being paid. Ordinary Liberians got together and decided to want to clean Monrovia. And so that had nothing. Why some of them may have been connected with the Boycott government now, that had nothing to do with Joe Boycott and his government.
He said from the day we are considered, the clock started ticking for
Yes,
President
but
Boycott.
he said the clock started ticking, and he referenced the fact of the cleanup campaign, insinuating that that cleanup campaign was the Boycott government in power, and that's not true. The third thing I want to talk about, somebody mentioned that Joseph Boycott have hired a lot of broke people. Some of the people that he has hired that are now in position, they worked before. They were working. They were working here in some reputable positions. Even in Liberia, they were working. Of course, there may be one or two who wasn't, but to come out and say that people, they are all broke people that he is now hiring his broke friends, that's just not right and unacceptable. Now, this is what I want to say about the government. I think there has been a lot of mishaps. A lot of things are not working as it should be working. But I still want to think that the government is on course within 30 days, but they can make some significant corrections to some of the problems. I hope they are hearing Liberians. I hope they're taking into consideration some of these criticisms. They're not negative. They are meant to make our country better. So I would hope that they're listening and they correct some of these things so that we can have a better outlook of our country. What can they do? Some of the positions are still vacant. Fill those positions. Some of the promises they've made as it relates to auditing. I am one who have been very critical of Chairman Luther Tappe. I think as a minister of the gospel, coming out and saying that he was going to do an audit, I still hold him accountable for not yet presenting the audit for that 365,000. The other with the inaugural campaign. When you come and say you're going to do something, I think it's incumbent upon the government to live up to their promises and to do as they have promised. Those little things that people are asking and holding them accountable for, I think they need to start working towards them. And it's kind of sad that they're going to the second month and they still don't have a full government. I think that's something that they can work on, set some goals, so that they can have those position filled and so that they can have real work. Other than that, I think there's still a lot of room for growth and a lot of errors they've made, but those errors, they're not death. They're not errors that they can bounce back. I think if they're strong and I think if they're focused, they can make a difference and change some of those things. Thank you, Dennis, and it's been good being here. Mohammed was a bit tough tonight, I must say. Here, Father Washington.
Whenever the minister makes a political statement, he's a politician.
I know, and that's why I'm going to keep calling his name, because I want to hold him accountable. He promised to do that audit. He must do it.
Correct.
Thomas.
Well, like I said, I think the 6 years has started, but I do think that the administration is behind schedule. The first thing to point out is that if you are developing a 100-day deliverable, I think I said this a couple of shows ago, when do we start counting the 100 days? Do we start counting the 100 days from January 22? Or are we going to start counting the 100 days when the 100-day deliverable plan is finalized? And I think the government just took a long period of time to be able to deliver or to develop this 100-day deliverable plan. All of the information that they needed was collected during the work that the JPTT did. They just needed to get folks who were not going for appointment, who were not going for confirmation, who were not doing a lot of things to be able to sit down and craft this plan. I think they dropped the ball on that. The other thing I want to highlight as I close is the issue of the national budget. Before George Weah government left, they developed the national budget. Now our budget year is an annual year. They developed the national budget and sent it to the legislature. The legislature was very kind enough to send the budget back to the executive and say, you are a new government coming in. We want the budget to reflect your priorities. Therefore, we're sending the budget back to you to develop the budget and resubmit it to us. The new budget has not gone to the legislature yet. Because they were taking time to do it, they had to request $41 million for the legislature to approve it. The reason why that has to happen because there is no budget at the legislature. If the budget was at the legislature, they never needed a separate approval. They could use 1/12 of the previous year budget. But the approval that was provided and the funds that were provided cover only February. Today is March 1. There is no budget at the legislature. So except for the funds that were approved that you can reprogram, the government has no authority to commit any new funds as of the end of February. Even if you finalize the 100-day deliverable plan and there's no budget, there's no commitment, how do you implement it? That will become a problem. But overall, I think there's a bit of improvement. Now people are now walking in Monrovia and checking over their shoulders that somebody is coming to kill them. We see A.B. Kroma, even without budget support, he's arresting these drug dealers. So gradually, I mean, we are breaking away from the past and trying to move forward. But I think overall, they are too slow. So my recommendations will be finish the setting up of the government and pay attention to appointing people of competence, like Jimmy is saying. Those technicians that are on the ground, those that are in the diaspora, go and headhunt them. I think at this point, they are not headhunting or talent. They are just trying to fill the positions. Any list that come from anywhere, they put the names there, which is going to be a problem moving forward. And then I will encourage the Ministry of Finance outside the 5-year development plan. Let's develop a separate plan for economic growth and economic expansion so that we can really focus on job creation, on expanding the private sector and all of that. I don't think that can be addressed by just putting a development plan together that will address all of the laundry list of issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Quick question, Dennis. Mr. Kane, I understand this government already had 1/12 of that budget at their disposal before they requested additional $41 million.
No. The way it works, the PFM law says when you submit the budget to the legislature and the legislature has now passed the budget and the fiscal year is starting, then you can use 1/12 of the previous year budget. So they had no authority to use the 1/12 because the budget is now with the legislature. The delay for the passage of the budget is not the legislature, it's the executive that still has it. So that's why they needed a separate instrument to allow them to use the 41 million. So the 41 million was not the 1/12 authority.
So they're definitely going to ask for another 41 for March. And by the time we know it, it's just drip. Mr. Dukley, I almost call you Imam Dukley.
Oh.
Because we need somebody to reverse this curse that the pastor.
I'm not an imam though. Thank you, Dennis, and I want to say thanks to all my co-panelists here. You see, Dennis, the clip you just played there, that gentleman, what he said in our clip represents the people of Liberia. That's what they go through day in, day out. That's their reality. So the only way I can see, this rescue thing making progress. Usually, I remember during Bill Clinton's presidency, somebody asked him, "How do you know you're making progress?" And Bill Clinton said, "You make progress, you measure progress when you have new problems. That is, you're dealing with something new that you weren't dealing with before. That's considered progress." So Jimmy said every regime has their issues and their problems. We haven't seen anything new that we haven't seen before the Barker regime. So they are the same problem that we've had ever since I know Liberia to be Liberia. Is still going on until today. So the only way I can see a headway with the new government is to start with the basics. Try to put a stop to the waste that we have in our government. This idea we don't have money, we do have money. We do borrow money. But we steal the money, we waste the money. So until we put, an end to some of this waste in all these various departments of government and start making sure that the money is allocated, the money is spent for the purpose for which it was allocated, I don't see this government making any headway because the excuse is going to be we don't have money. Well, there is money. So, it's always sad to say, our country is cursed. Father Washington is just, it's an expression of his frustration. It's an expression of how disappointed he is. And many of us are. Because of what we've seen, we've been disappointed over and over. So, the only way I can see these guys making progress is they have to make a dramatic turn from what they are doing right now. So really, I'm not hoping to see anything worse than we've seen, but the reality that we see on the ground just tell us the opposite. As hard as we try to say the opposite, it's just not happening, Dennis. So I would expect them to change course. And Brother Kano was saying he doesn't know when the 100-day deliverable count. It starts from the day they took office. So it is on them to put it together. Because look, in Canada here, we always have something called shadowy government. So if the government changes today, tomorrow the next government is ready, is functioning as if it's been in power before. So it's not an excuse. They had so many months to put their plans together. They have so many. So the 100-day deliverable starts from the day they took over, which is January 22nd it was. But you know what? They're not going to go even 30% of what they said they would deliver. Trust me. So I just hope that they are listening to us and considering some of the things that we are proposing to them here.
Thank you. And even the Bible says, "He who the Father loves, he chastises." So what we're saying here is to help you, Mr. Government. Mr. Sharif.
Yes. So everything that
Did
we
you
have said.
intentionally make him last? Did you intentionally make him last?
No,
it's my genius.
I can concede my time to you, Wendy. You can take my spot.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
No, you sure? You sure? Okay. All right. So if you give a 40-day scorecard, right? So we just, because it's 40 days. So let's be fair to them. They've been 40 days, and that scorecard is bad, right? Overall. I mean, if you pick spots here and there are positive spots, but when you're grading overall, then it's a fail grade. So that's 40 days. But the good news is they still have over 2,000 days. So they have a lot of miles to go. They have a lot ahead to go. But me as, just sitting here looking at everything that's going on, and the leader of the country being the person who he is, who has been around government for over 40 years, what I'm seeing and saying to myself is, but what is going to change now? Is he all of a sudden just going to, flip a switch and change all of a sudden? Can you teach him new habits, with not listening to the Army wives first when they started a small protest, and then it grew into something bigger. And now they're saying that, they're coming back again to do more. Who knows what's going to happen? And, and then a protest at a concession site. You send, police, you send militarized individuals to shoot. Who gave that order? So tonight, tomorrow morning, if you are the president of the republic, you are supposed to now ask your police director to give you some answers. The commander who ordered to shoot needs to be arrested and prosecuted. The police officer who shot that fatal shot needs to be arrested. Or the group of officers who did that need to be arrested and prosecuted. Because in your arrest agenda, you have something called the rule of law. Yeah. So you are being hypocritical if you don't follow the rule of law. Here you are talking, I don't know whether it's true or not, you're talking to Alan White about war crimes. I don't know if this is recent video is been disputed now, but whatever, right? You're talking about that, but and yet,
Mr. Sharif, how do we change course? What can the government do now?
But this is what I'm telling you. What the government can do is what I'm telling you now. These are the prescription. I just said that they still have 2,000 plus more days to go. So all the things that they've done,
100 maybe
151 days.
Yeah.
So you cannot, Dennis, you cannot do the things that you're supposed to do if you don't look back to see what the wrong that you've done already. So let the wrongs that they've done serve as lessons to go forward. But I have my doubts. The reason I have my doubts is I'm saying that the president of the republic has really, been slow to react to things that are really, really important when you talk about security, especially now we're talking about the security sector. Things that are happening, with the police, with this guy, with the LEC situation. You still have Mirror Broad out there with gangs. What kind of lawful society? What kind of civil society that you're going to have this woman running around with gangs? When you talk about law and order, you don't need a Mirror Broad. You need ordinances throughout the country and not just Monrovia. And you mentioned it, Dennis, you're right. So if you're going to institute for power theft, but your people can't even pay their water bill, you're hypocritical. You're a hypocrite. So stop with it. Stop harassing the common people. Stop harassing the masses and go after the wealthy people that are well paid. They're the fattest. They ride the big cars. They ride they're sitting in all these big mansions. Go after those people and leave the common people alone. And you know what? Finally, these people that elected you, they can also vote you out.
Yeah.
Dennis, let me just throw something out quickly.
Hold on, Victor, we got to close. I'm sorry. And Glendy, you close us on behalf of Focus on Liberia.
You want my brother to talk again?
No, we got to close. That UPP people, they always find something.
Let me ask this before we leave. What is this government policy on education, on health, on security? What is this foreign policy? What is this policy on the economy? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because we don't see it. But please close us out, my dear sister.
No, that would be in the 5-year development plan. I think it's too early to start to say there is no policy.
Oh, it is too early? They've been sitting down over 30 days already too early?
On that note, we want to say thank you for watching Focus on Liberia, and we'll see you all next week, Friday. Thanks to all of you for watching. Good night.
Thank you.
We are Liberia.